So good morning, and we are going to learn a little bit today about the physiographic provinces in Virginia. Virginia is divided into 5 major physiographic provinces. And a physiographic province is something that is based on the physical features as well as the geographic location. The 5 physiographic provinces in Virginia stretch from the coastal plain on the eastern edge to the Piedmont, the Blue Ridge, the Valley and Ridge, and the Appalachian Plateau to the west. We're going to briefly look at how each of the provinces differ based on the geology as well as some other features present in those provinces. We start at the coastal plain, which is a gently seaward sloping surface in eastern Virginia. The coastal plain is a pile of loose sediments that have eroded from the mountains to the west. The coastal plain has the highest elevation at about 300 feet, and the lowest elevation is at sea level. You can notice in this picture that the coastal plain is dipping eastward as the elevation drops towards the coast. In the coastal plain, there are mostly sedimentary rocks and loose sediments. The ages of the rocks are anywhere from current age to 225 million years ago. And the coastal plain is known for having fossils of sea critters. Now, critters is not a biological definition, but nonetheless, sea creatures are what we have in the coastal plain. Moving westward from the coastal plain, we know that this area is rich in sand and gravel resources. In one of our prior lessons, we talked about the natural resources, and in Virginia, specifically, the natural resources of the coastal plain are that sand and gravel. The coastal plain is defined on the western edge by what we call the fall line. And that's where we often see waterfalls and rapids being located, as well as the major cities of Fredericksburg, Richmond, and in our Northern Virginia region. Moving westward, we move into an area known as the Piedmont. The Piedmont is a gently rolling area with hills and valleys. Pied, the root word for, pied means foot, and mont means mountains. So it is the foothills of the mountains. This region is located in central Virginia. It is the largest region. It is the largest region in Virginia, covering this central area. The Piedmont formed during an episode of subduction that occurred before the formation of the Appalachian Mountains. The Piedmont are the root part, they are part of the roots of the mountains. Most of the rocks in the Piedmont are igneous and metamorphic in type. However, there are some sedimentary rocks. Most of the rocks in the Piedmont are from the ages of 245 million years ago to 570 million years ago. And for the most part, there are not fossils in the Piedmont, except that there are some dinosaur tracks in Culpeper County. Moving westward again from the Piedmont, we're going to go to the Blue Ridge. The Blue Ridge is a narrow line of mountains north of Roanoke, a broader upper land surface south of Roanoke. The Blue Ridge are the highest mountains in Virginia. And in Virginia, this is the part of the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains are older and more eroded than the Rocky Mountains in the western U.S. Again, looking at the Blue Ridge swath, it is this very narrow, long range of high mountainous material. In the Blue Ridge, we have our highest peak in Virginia, which is Mount Rogers, at an elevation of 5,719 feet. In the Blue Ridge, the rocks are mostly igneous and metamorphic. They can range anywhere from 245 million years ago to 1 billion years ago. And because there are no sedimentary rocks, there are no fossils. The Blue Ridge metamorphism occurred during the Appalachian Mountain Formation, and these are the oldest rocks in Virginia. Moving westward from the Blue Ridge, we then enter into the Valley and Ridge Province, which is an area of long parallel ridges separated by valleys. The ridges are the high points, the valleys are the low points. The ridges are made of sections of hard, resistant rocks, like sandstone, while soft, eroded limestone makes up the valleys. Limestone has eroded and leaves caves and caverns, which is why this region in Virginia is known as having karst topography. Folding and faulting occurred during the formation of the Appalachian Mountains, when North America collided with Africa and Europe, and this happened between 265 million years ago to 300 million years ago. This was a time period during the Paleozoic. And again, though, recognizing that the sediments were folded during this collision. They were not metamorphosed, which is why we have sedimentary rocks ranging in age from 350 million years ago to 570 million years old. Again, if we go to identify any of the fossils that are in this area, we find ocean living organisms again. Lastly, our westernmost province is the Appalachian Plateau, which is a series of plateaus separated by faults. It is an area known rich for mineral deposits or natural resources, the fossil fuels, not mineral deposits, but fossil fuels of coal, oil, and natural gas. The rocks in this region are sedimentary in age, or sedimentary in type, and they are ranging from 286 million years old to 360 million years old. The fossils, again, we have some ocean organisms as well as tree ferns. And if we look at the plateau, we can see that westward of the valley and ridge, we have a higher flat area. So we've just briefly looked at the 5 different regions in Virginia and their major characteristics and features of those physiographic provinces.